I sold it off actually to a buddy of mine for about
Okay.
10 grand at the end of the third summer.
Nice.
But I was doing anywhere from 25,000 to 50,000 a summer as a 16-year-old kid.
Welcome to Clicks and Bricks Podcast. We talk about the entrepreneur mindset.
If you get one shot at this, what kind of shot are you going to take?
If we forget who we are, they're going to forget who you are.
And you've got an adversity story that's out of this world.
Everything from that Main Street brick and mortar to that billion-dollar manufacturer.
Bryan, thank you so much for joining us today. I've done a little bit of research on your company, and I absolutely love what you're doing. So I love your industry, love everything about it. So I'm super excited to learn about what you're doing. You've taken two industries that I really like to follow, the cannabinoid industry along with the subscription box industry, and you merged them together. So can you tell us a little bit about your company and what it is that you guys do?
For sure. Thank you for having me today. So I got started in 2015. I basically launched the company a week after I graduated from George Washington University in DC. My major had nothing to do with any of this. I was accounting and information systems, and so kind of good with numbers, kind of techie, So instead of studying for my last finals, I was building the Shopify website, and so honestly, graduated May 18th, 2015, started June 1st, 2015. And the original concept was basically a company called Hemp Box. And what it was a discovery tool, a monthly subscription for discovering new paraphernalia products. And honestly, the industry at the time, and still is, was super fragmented in where you can get this stuff. The head shop or smoke shop experience is very awkward. You don't know what word you can say. Is it bong? Is it water pipe? And the guy starts yelling you at the store. So it was just super awkward. And I ended up buying a ton of rolling papers and stuff off Amazon, but they wouldn't let you put it on subscription because of the category, right? It's in tobacco. And so kind of the light bulb moment spark. And so we launched our first box June 1st. Like I said, we had 30 subscribers. It was basically $29.99. It came with about 10 different items, and it all kind of was curated by myself to start for things that I would want to buy. And I think the curation has changed as I've matured. And, when I was a college grad, my taste has changed from now I'm, early 30s. Right. And so about 6 months in, we pilot tested a guest curated concept where we would bring in an influencer or a celebrity, and they would pick the products 1 month. And it was kind of like a smoke like Snoop Dogg for 30 days concept. Right. And we pilot tested this with,
that's some dangerous stuff.
Yeah.
That'll bring you to whole new worlds.
Exactly. So, we thought it was an interesting way. You're watching these people on TV, you're watching, listening to their music, you're in, you're on social media with them, but you're not really partaking in their kind of ritual. And we thought this was a cool way for them to, get back with the fans and connect with them in a totally different way. And so we pilot tested this with popular YouTubers at first, actually. And it catapulted the subscription. We went from 300 subscribers month 5 to over 1,500 months 6. And so that snowball effect, it really took off. And so that snowball effect really started happening early on. In 2015 was a huge subscription economy year. A ton of the bigger subscription companies, Birchbox, Dollar Shave Club, BarkBox, all those guys were raising tons and tons of money. They're growing the subscription base like wildfire. And so we were kind of riding on the coattails of that. And, I really wanted it to have longevity. And I think one of the biggest things that we uncovered early on after doing a lot of research was basically, how do we keep this fresh and exciting through product development of our own in-house stuff? And I think that's where a lot of the other subscription companies, they rely on other companies to keep releasing new stuff. Most companies that are really selling quality stuff don't release new products all the time, right? So that was something that we really took apart. And what we identified was there was all these 7-figure niche pocket markets, right? So there's glass, there's cleaning, there's odor eliminating, there's storage, there's preparation goods, so on and so forth, right? And so what we started doing was taking basically the top 10 products in those segments, innovating and duplicating, right? And really wanted to come out with functional, real products that when you looked at it, it was like, oh, that's a no-brainer. I need that in my ritual, right? And then we leveraged the subscription box as kind of our Trojan horse marketing outlet to get, to be able to amortize mold fees across, all these customers. So basically it's our paid test market to release new products. Right. And then what we would do is we would take back all that feedback from our customers on the subscription side, and then we would approach our distribution and retail partners and we'd say, hey guys, look, we just brought this product in. We released it 30 days ago. We've sold 10,000 units already. You need to take this product and put it into your retail stores or your distribution footprint, right? And it was the first real data-driven approach to smoking accessory development, as opposed to like, I had an idea one day, I barely had enough money for the mold. I got a little couple prototypes here. Right. Do you like it? If you like it enough, can I go to full production? It wasn't one of those little stair stepper conversations. It was like, we already made this. We've sold thousands. You want it, you need it, right? And so that's how we ultimately kept the subscription box fresh, right? Through these, and so we worked with these different artists and musicians. And so we've done Cypress Hill collaborations and, just all different types of walks of life, to be honest. And then kind of rounding out the first 2 years, we actually started getting away from the influencer curated, and we started introducing more theme-based kits. And so like UFO theme, rubber ducky theme, space theme, right? Gaming theme.
I think I got an ocean theme box.
Yeah, exactly. So what started happening was people started, if you didn't like Snoop Dogg, you weren't going to buy his box that month. So you would unsubscribe, right?
Okay.
But when we did with the themes, we saw our unsubscribe rate drop because people started taking to the themes more than they liked the celebrity or the famous person, right? And so, that was a little bit too polarizing for the brand, and we wanted it to be able to live on its own. So we've actually found a lot of success in these themes, and like the UFO themes, like our number1 selling product on the website, and it goes across all of its SKUs. And so what we've really been doing lately is kind of restructuring, so on the paraphernalia side, we went with more of a Procter & Gamble like approach. So we have multiple brands. So Hemper is more of a branded marketplace where we release other brands that we've developed on there. So we're driving traffic to one domain, and then we own a bunch of the properties on that website. And so that's how, honestly, you win at e-commerce. You control the manufacturing side and you get that margin, because with discounts, returns, chargebacks, there's not much meat left at the bone, right? When you're gone through that whole path. So product development, so kind of fast forwarding, we have thousands of subscribers at these packages. We're in thousands of stores worldwide now. We're in Japan, Australia, New Zealand, Italy, France. So kind of gone international with this, and kind of segueing into our other part of our business. So that was kind of the first 3 years of everything. And we started getting this reputation of being really scrappy at manufacturing stuff for really affordable rates. And so we started supplying a lot of the packaging companies paraphernalia like glass bongs and pipes. When their business model was direct to dispensary, it's now shifted to more processor grower, MSO footprint. Okay. And so throughout this process, we've gotten these interesting opportunities, and one of them was pre-rolled cones. And there's been kind of a monopoly on pre-roll cones for about 20 years. There's 2 major manufacturers in Indonesia, and that was pretty much all you could get. And they had a finite amount of capacity. So, and they produce for a lot of the big brands you see, Raw, Zigzag, all of that, right? And so we got an interesting opportunity to go manufacture pre-rolls because we were already producing glass in India. And so took us about 6 months. So I don't know if you know this, but Delhi is actually a top 10 cannabis consumption city in the world, even though it is illegal. And so there's a ton of local sweatshop kind of manufacturers for the local market. Yeah. And so kind of learn the lay of the land, raw materials, processes, tooling, all that type of stuff. And really, when we wanted to step into this world, we wanted to approach it as more of a solutions partner as opposed to a one size fits all, right? Most of the brands out there, they sell their tower boxes with their brand on it, and that's kind of what you can get, right?
Right.
We wanted to dive a little bit deeper with the customer and say, hey, are you using certain automation equipment we need to conform to? Is there a humidity issue that we need to use thicker paper, right? Because it's tearing when you guys go to close, right? There's all these different parameters of what things change in different markets, right? I have a client out in, Palm Springs that it's so dry out there, the paper tears. How do we fix these problems, right? And so, about 6 months, we launched our first facility and started kind of going out to the market, and basically kind of fast forwarding to today, we're at about 9 facilities. We have about 4,000 employees over in India. We produce about 95 million cones a month for the market.
Wow.
We produce for a lot of the big MSOs, a lot of the big vanity brands you see, and we do a ton of these bigger tobacco guys as well. So like the Raws, the Zigzags, the OCBs of the world. And so we kind of got it on both fronts, not just the direct to consumer, but we also have it on this enterprise level as well.
In that process, did you kill a lot of those sweatshops in that country?
So as we've had to scale up, I think one of the biggest things to recognize is the quality that we've been able to maintain as we've scaled up. And I think that's one thing that we need to note is that the supply chain in this industry is so fragmented. We're all kind of pioneering it in some form or fashion, right? And so what's a big challenge, what we have to do is, we might not be the cheapest. So a lot of these other companies will look at those sweatshop manufacturers as a way to save costs. But what will end up happening is a contamination or a recall case. And so we try advising our clients to save a half a penny. It's not worth it. It's still
just the
less
humanity
than one
factor, right? Just
that
not
as
having
well.
the sweatshops is, to me, I know it probably doesn't seem that way, but it's wildly important to me as in the global world thing that we get rid of that kind of mentality. And
100%.
I love that you were able to not only create a quality product for the world, but make people's lives better in their work environment is something that you should hold your head pretty high on. It's
100%.
amazing.
For sure. No, so yeah, no, we take great care of obviously all of our employees over there. We actually have some US based employees who actually have lived over in India, have been with us for years. And so, we really wanted to approach it as a quality standpoint. So we are actually the most certified pre-roll manufacturer in the world. We have 3 different ISO certifications. We're GMP certified. We have HACCP certifications. We're gluten-free, halal, vegan, kosher, non-GMO.
Wow.
Like no heavy metals, no pesticides, all of that, right? And so that was, we went in as the solutions partner, but, being able to get to that scalability within the last 3 years at 95 million cones, keeping that quality control has been a real challenge, but it's really paid off in the long run for us. We've really been able to, and we had to do a lot of cleanup duty because a lot of those sweatshop models ruined relationships. So I had to convince people, no, literally my college roommate, best friend, business partners living in India at these facilities, managing them, right? And we're not some middleman. And I think that's a big hurdle to get over because a lot of people think we're a middleman, and we're actually one of the only true owned and operated direct manufacturers, as opposed to a lot of these resellers. So if you're talking about like a Futurola or a Custom Cones USA, they're buying capacity from a manufacturer. They cannot prioritize your orders. They cannot move things around. They can't discount things. They can't replace, defective product, in a week, right? And so I think that's a big thing to note is that as these cannabis companies scale up, you want to know that your manufacturer is scaling with you, right? You don't want to outgrow your manufacturer. That's the worst thing you could possibly do for your business. And so we've really had a lot of challenges, but it's definitely paid off in the long run, going at it as the solutions partner and just putting quality first. And to your point, right, the sweatshop model is not good for the industry, and it's horrible what, is going on in, all the other countries surrounding. Yeah.
It's not good. So awesome. I love it. I love the subscription model. I mean, a product like yours, other than the glassware, is going to be repeated model anyway, where you're consistently buying it. I don't like models where you one and done, and selling a product for $29 on the internet. that doesn't recur, I'm sure some people can do it, but
Right.
as a standalone website, it is very challenging because your cost to acquire a customer is generally more than $29 on any product you
Yes.
have, right? So
Right. And
that's
so
a
I think
challenge.
through the product development and keeping the box fresh, and this community is super vocal, right? And people know right away if this is a bullshit product or if this is legitimate, right?
Right.
And I think a lot of the products in our industry were repurposed. And I think that's one thing to note is that we have a full design team in-house. We have 3D printers here. We're rapid prototyping all day. And we have things that have been on the board for 3 years that we haven't launched because we're just like, it's not quite there yet, right?
Right.
Because we don't want to release something half-assed, right? Because we'll get told literally on social media, you guys release this half-assed,
Right.
right?
Yes.
And so, we really take pride in the products that we push out and, the viability in terms of the economic price points that we hit as well. Like we basically pioneered the $50 bong, right? And before it was like, 200 plus to get the kind of function that we put in our pieces. And so that was really what garnered a lot of the original, customer base, was just like really high quality stuff at economy prices.
Right. Okay. So this whole industry is clouded with risk and danger and all these things. I just for a couple of minutes, I want to talk about, and I don't remember what year it was. I think it was in the 80s, where all these glass manufacturers across the United States went to prison. Like they were raided
Yes.
and all those things. And this was a federal government initiative that did this. And I honestly believe it was a horrible thing to do. Anti-freedom all across the board, because they weren't doing anything in my mind that was illegal. How do you, in this industry, king of cones, not have a fear of the federal government?
Yeah, no, that's funny. So when I first started the business, my brother told me, he's like, people went to jail for what you're doing like 10 years ago.
Like in massive scale, like
Yeah.
a big deal.
Yes. Yeah, no, I mean, it was definitely alarming. I think just me personally, I'm a little bit more risk preferred than most people out there. And I think as an entrepreneur, you are more risk preferred than most average people in general. So I guess I chose risky industry, risky career path. But
Okay.
I think as we move towards whatever deschedulization looks like, more legalization. I think now, when I first started this business in 2015, people looked at me like I was crazy, right? They were like, "What are you doing, kid? You need to go to grad school," right? And now people are like, "Dude, you made the smartest decision. You right out of college went right into it. You crushed it. You guys, we've done over $100 million in 7 years in lifetime sales, right? So, we grinded. There were a ton of dark days, but I don't really think about the federal government coming and knocking on our door, to be honest, right? That was never I guess it's a possibility,
our last few
right?
presidents have said, yeah, we don't care.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it was just a different time. And I think it was the DEA who did a lot of those, search and seizures and all that type of stuff. And I think the way they were playing it was, I think, with the Tommy, or I don't know if you, Chris Chills, but Chills bongs, they flew from Iowa on taxpayer dollars to Florida to go arrest these guys. And
for
I
blowing
don't
glass.
even think, right, exactly.
So absurd.
And, they called it paraphernalia rings. And I mean, it's kind of crazy because I don't know if you're familiar, I don't know if you watch Snowfall, but it's a TV show about how, the government basically pumped in the crack epidemic in California and the whole country. And we were, basically, I don't want to get into too many conspiracies, but, the government was basically funding all of this stuff for the Contras and, and so it's kind of a hypocritical thing. Right. And so I think
but the powers that be can't throw you in prison. Like, and you can't do it the other way around. So,
right, of course,
it is a scary waters to navigate.
I think we're in a different mindset than we were in 1980 than we are today, right? I think it's
yes.
Yeah.
thankfully we're there.
Right.
In a much better spot.
Yeah, and I think for us, like the whole reefer madness mindset, right? Like we wanted to be, and that's kind of part back to the branding of Hemper, and we wanted to be that squeaky clean brand, ready at the door when Walmart's going to accept these products, right? Because the day is going to come eventually, right? I think the national retailers are going to smarten up as they see legalization, in their major core markets, right? Middle America. I mean, you're in Missouri, it's popping off, right? Billboards everywhere. I couldn't believe it, when I was there in March. I was just like, wow, we've come very far. And, so honestly, I don't really think of the legal, implications that much in terms of business risk. Obviously, we have venture capital partners. I have to make sure we're, abiding by the lines. But in terms of glowing bongs and all that, well, I guess you can go arrest my team in India, right?
Yeah. And I think today it's a pretty safe industry to be in legally, but you never know who our next elected officials are going to be and things like that. So, I would just keep track of that if I were you, for sure. I would agree that I think you're pretty safe today, but you never know what the future might hold.
Right.
So in high school, were you entrepreneurial spirited, or was this like, hey, let's just try this to see what happens? Or did you always know I want to start a business?
Yeah, no. So I was always that, the dog walker kid, the mowing the lawns, snow plow. I was doing that every summer or every year, and as much as I could. And then like my first real entrepreneurial thing, I guess I was like 16 years old, and me and my mom were sitting outside a Barnes and Noble in Bethesda, Maryland. And this guy was running a Hawaiian shaved ice stand for about 20 years. And he was a teacher during the year and then would run this stand. And I mean, a line all day, all day, every day. And so when I was 15, 16, I actually got my only job not working for a family member was working at this place called Marble Slab Creamery. Okay. And I was like 15 years old, getting paid $6.50 an hour. And I dropped some cones one day on the ground, like sugar cones. And the guy pulls me back and he goes, "Hey, Bryan, I think it's been 2 weeks. I just don't think it's going to work out." And he fires me. And obviously I was devastated. I went home, I started crying to my mom, and she was like, "You know what, screw that guy. We're going to do our own thing." Right. And so kind of fast forwarding, I made a plan to basically launch my own shaved ice stand and go compete against these people. And so I lived in a planned community in Maryland where it was basically a neighborhood that surrounded a city, right? And it was like a master plan community. So we had like restaurants and movie theaters and Starbucks and sushi and all that. So the center of town was basically where the neighborhood would bring in like bands and the kids would come play, and all the parents would drink. There's restaurants around, and we had multiple community pools in the neighborhoods. And so basically I decided to launch. So I did all the research. I realized I needed $6,000. I found a guy in the neighborhood, a father, who told me basically, "Hey, I'll give you the $6,000. He was a lawyer. "I'll give you the $6,000 if you basically give my son a job for the summer." I said, "Okay, babysit your kid. All right, let's do it."
Yes.
So I went to Lowe's. I got the wood cut. I built the cart. I put a hand washing station inside. I got my hawker's peddler's license from the city of Gaithersburg. I got my health permit from the city of Rockville. And I set up literally 20 feet from the Marble Slab Creamery door July 4th weekend. And I had a line outside, just as he did, I did as well. And he actually called the police on me. At a 16-year-old, called the police on me and said, because he thought I didn't have my ducks in a row. And I know, just like how I did with cones quality, right? I did it right. I got my permits. I did the hand washing station. I followed all the rules. So he actually called the police on me. They checked out all my stuff. They couldn't kick me out of the area. So for every day since then, I was making $500, cash. And as far as the government knew, I was a lemonade stand, right? And, I bought the machine from Hawaii, and I had a local 7-Eleven. One of the other dads in the neighborhood owned the 7-Eleven. He allowed me to freeze my ice blocks in their commercial freezer. Okay. And so everyone was just kind of like, "Yeah, go, Bryan, do it, like whatever we can do to support you." And so I started sponsoring swim teams and swim meets, and then it was like 1,000 kids, and the parents hated me. They were like, "Why is this kid here?" And all the kids were screaming, "Mom, Dad, I need a shaved ice!" And I had like cool little flavor. I had like 30 different flavors, and we
Right.
started doing like themed stuff. So we would do like, grape flavor and blue raspberry for like a Ravens themed, football, one, right?
Right.
And so we just started doing that. Then I started doing adult parties with shaved ice shooters. So we do like pina colada shaved ice with like Malibu coconut rum.
At 16?
And yes.
Okay. All right.
I may have been 17, 18 at this point.
All right.
And so that was kind of my first entrepreneurial endeavor, and it really took off. I did that for about 3 summers, and that really taught me inventory management, cash flow, hiring, firing,
Right.
storage,
Is that shaved ice store
everything.
still running?
It's not. No.
You have the
It was
stand?
wait, I used to. So I sold it off actually to a buddy of mine for about
Okay.
10 grand at the end of the 3rd summer.
Nice.
But I was doing anywhere from 25,000 to 50,000 a summer as a 16-year-old kid.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah.
Because
so
you got
was,
fired. That's a streak of bitterness that is very, very specific.
I hate authority.
I love it. Good job. That is
Yeah.
amazing.
So that was that. And then when I got to GW, I tried a couple different entrepreneurial things. Nothing really hit. And then my last year, I actually came up with Hemper, and I came up with another one, and Hemper just took off right after we graduated. And so that's kind of how I got into this. And, I called my dad. I was originally pre-med when I first got into college.
Okay.
And he's a doctor, and I thought I was going to just take over his practice and easy life, right? And I got a B- in like bio 1, and I called my dad. I'm like, Dad, I got a B- in bio 1. He's like, well, if you want to get into med school, you got to retake it, and you got to get an A+ now. And I go, oh shit, well, that sucks. Sorry, that's probably not going to happen. So what's the options? And he goes, well, why do you want to be a doctor? And I go, because I want a steady paycheck. Right. And I want to make, 6 figures. Right. And he goes, Bryan, that's not the reason why I become a doctor. The reason why I became a doctor was because I truly wanted to help people. And I think I love helping people, just in a different way. And he was like,
Right.
you know what, Bryan, go into business. You're going to make more money. Right. And so I listened to him. I changed my major. I went from pre-med to accounting and information systems. And, now, I guess on paper, I'm making 4 or 5, 10 times what my dad makes. Right. And, luckily I listened to him, and I would have been miserable, I think, as a doctor, and I think as business, I get to really explore all of my different interests and what is really possible out there. And I love marketing. I love product development. It's a real passion. And I just happen to be in the cannabis industry right now, but I would love to get into food and other types of industries as well.
Right.
But yeah, that's kind of how I got into this whole entrepreneurial thing.
That's a phenomenal story. I absolutely love it. Rare to have that much success. So I think you got a little bit of a unicorn story here, specifically with the shaved ice and now Hemper. But you did have a couple things that you've tried that didn't go, right?
Yeah.
You said when you did Hemper, you had 2 projects at the same time, and the other one left by the sides, and you ran with Hemper. So you went to school, you say George Washington University?
Yeah.
And you've got systems, computer science, and accounting?
Yes.
And both of those things you use in your business, right? How important was that a dual degree or a minor?
Dual degree.
A dual degree. How important do you think that dual degree is to your current success?
So,
or a degree at all?
Yeah, I think kind of twofold, right? So I come from a Jewish family, right? Education is number one, right? And, my grandparents were always like, Bryan, if you get to grad school, we'll pay for it. You don't have to worry about it. And, that was always the mentality. It's like, oh, they're going to pay for it? Cool. I'll go get an MBA or whatever it is. Right. So I got into 3 different schools. Actually, I got into University of Maryland. I got into George Washington University, and I got into NYU. And NYU basically gave me the least amount of financial aid. And GW actually gave me a full ride on scholarship. And UMD was actually going to cost more than GW without the funding, if you could believe that, as a state school. And so what I realized was Maryland was going to be basically an extension of high school. And when I went to go visit GW and I walked past the library, what did I see? I saw Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Rolls Royces. And I said, whoa, what's going on here? And the tour person said, there's a lot of international students who bring their cars here. And I said, that's the circle I'm going to be in, because I have the ideas. What do I need?
Yes.
The money. Right. So I went to GW for networking. I don't care about the degree. The degree means nothing. They didn't teach us shit there. Right.
Okay.
So
that would be a pretty
yeah.
big advocacy. And I don't know, did you join a fraternity through college?
I did not.
Okay. But that would be a good
Yeah.
advocacy statement for fraternities and sororities, is the networking that you can get
100%.
throughout
Yeah.
that scenario. That's it for today's show, folks. If you'd like to join my text line community, the number is 314-370-2871. All you have to do to join that text line is send me any question about business or technology. I'll do all the research, and I'll give you an absolutely free, totally unbiased answer. Get to work.